So once again, good morning, good afternoon, and evening to all of you, and welcome to our webinar. Today we are going to talk about the recruitment of students from India. It is a topic that has been present in the educational spheres for many, many years, because we all know that India is now a mature market and it's still a growing market. We would be delighted today to host a panel of experts for them to share a little bit more about how to adapt in the current circumstances, how to think about new innovative strategies, and especially how to connect with the Indian students and educational institutions worldwide. So first and foremost, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you, to all our attendees. Thank you so much for finding the time and joining us today. We really aim with this webinar to equip you with tools and with insights on one side in emerging trends to understand how the market has changed and has evolved over the last couple of years, but ultimately how to successfully recruit a quality Indian students. We all know that there is an organic demand that it's coming from the market, but it's also a challenging market, and then to find the right way, to find the right partners can be proved to be difficult. So we'll have our esteemed panelists that will help us to understand that a little bit better, and how you should reflect maybe in your strategies, taking into account everything that happened in 2024. Before we dive into the panel discussion with our guests, we would like to also share a couple of data points to show you where the Indian market kind of sits in terms of data, in terms of segments, in terms of destinations. And for that, I would like to welcome my colleague, Kristina Benedikova. She is international education analyst, and she will guide you through the presentation. It's going to be a brief one for about 10 minutes, but it will be a nice starting point then for the panel discussion. So over to you, Kristina.
Thank you, Ivana. So I will now start sharing my screen. All right. I hope you all can see.
Yes.
Great. Thank you for confirmation. So I'd like to also welcome all of our attendees, and we truly appreciate you taking the time to join us today. In this presentation, I'll walk you through a brief overview of some key points that highlight the growing demand from India, and we'll explore headline figures that offer valuable insights and set the stage for our discussion. So we will explore now the trends of Indian students studying abroad, with a focus on the most popular destinations. On the right, you'll see a list of countries we're covering. So that's Australia, Canada, Germany, the UK, and the US. These 5 destinations represent essentially the main hubs for Indian students pursuing education internationally. And while this data doesn't capture the entire market, it provides a highly accurate picture of student volumes in these regions. So as you can see, in 2019, there were approximately 477 Indian students enrolled across these 5 destinations. This includes students in language courses, K-12 education, and higher education programs. Although Indian students pursue various educational pathways, higher education remains the most popular choice. As Ivana mentioned, there is an organic demand for international education in India, and this has led to an impressive 973,000 students across these sectors in 2023. To break it down further, if you follow the golden line in the chart, you'll see the growth trajectory for Indian students in higher education. In this sector, the data combines actual figures and forecast recalculations, as the UK has not released its full data sets yet. However, our projections indicate growth, with the total number of Indian students increasing to an estimated 949 students by 2023. For K-12 education, post-pandemic, the market has experienced a rise in Indian student enrollments. However, these are not what we understand as traditional international students. The surge in enrollments essentially resulted from Indian parents enrolling students from within Canada. These are students living in Canada with their families. Nevertheless, their citizenship remains in India. For ELT in 2023, we did see growth across major destinations, with one exception, and that's Canada. Indian students in Australia and the UK surpassed pre-pandemic enrollment levels, and most other destinations showed a similar trend. Nonetheless, India is not a strong market for ELT, mainly because of the widespread knowledge of English. Overall, we project that there will be further growth, mainly in higher education, due to the organic demand. However, we want to emphasize that there is a lack of regulation and transparency when it comes to master agencies in India, and therefore education providers are encouraged to focus on quality rather than quantity, and they should invest in building relationships with high quality agents. So to understand the evolving preferences of Indian students, we analyze student numbers across individual sectors to identify any noticeable trends between 2019 and 2023. For higher education and K-12, both of these sectors displayed strong consistency, as you can see, in destination preferences. By 2023, Canada emerged as the top destination, driven by factors such as its attractive postgraduate programs, the ability of students to work while they're studying, as well as post-study opportunities. Along the right, in the K-12 sector, as you can see, Canada retained its position as the leading choice for Indian students. For the ELT sector, we observed a shift in preferences. While Canada held the top spot in 2019, it dropped to second place by 2023, and it was replaced by Canada. This shift can be attributed to changes in Australian visa policies, as well as higher housing affordability in Canada. And as you can see across all these sectors, Canada holds the first position in 2023. For higher education, we analyze student numbers by individual destinations rather than the cumulative total. And this will allow us to see how Indian student enrollments have evolved from 2019 to 2023. Overall, Indian students have exceeded recovery levels by more than 100% in 2023 in all major higher education destinations. This essentially indicates a high interest among Indian students in higher education programs abroad. Canada, as you can see, remains the top choice for Indian students considering pursuing higher education programs. The US remained the second most preferred destination, reaching an estimated 211% recovery to pre-pandemic levels. Germany is becoming an increasingly popular destination for Indian students, mainly due to its growth of higher education programs in English, affordability, and also visa approval rates. Now let's shift focus to the K-12 segment. It is important to mention that Indian students prefer local international schools in India, and India is still not a strong market for the sector abroad. And although data availability is limited, we can clearly observe that Canada is the most popular destination for Indian K-12 students, with a noticeable upward trend in 2021. As mentioned previously, this is a result of Indian immigrant families enrolling their children in Canadian international schools. And to break down Canadian K-12 a bit further, we noted that Ontario is the top province for Indian K-12 students, attracting 50% of enrollment. British Columbia follows with 23%, and Alberta ranks third with 13%. The demand isn't as strong in Australia and UK as it is in Canada. Nevertheless, we want to emphasize that there are opportunities in the K-12 sector, mainly through establishing local international schools in India. There is high demand, however, this demand is for in-country education mainly. And now we can bring up the poll question, and we will leave a few minutes for you to fill it out. While we vote, the following section on visa data is also available on our intelligence platform. And if you want to schedule a demo of how to use the platform and what features are available, you can scan the QR code that is on the slide. The slides would be available as well, so you can schedule a demo after the session. Great. So let's have a look at Indian student visa grants by destination. We see the number of student visas that have been approved by individual quarters in major destinations in the slide. Overall, visa grants were down in 2024 compared to the same period, which is Q1 to Q3 in 2023, due to the introduction of student caps and their implications. Now diving deeper into individual destinations, Australia experienced declines in higher education, however, witnessed increases in the wet sector. Looking at Canada, while there was an increase in visa applications during Q1, Q2 and Q3 experienced significant declines, and this led to an overall 62% decrease in visa applications when comparing the same Q1 to Q3 period in 2023. As for the UK, since 2022, visa grants for Indian students have been steadily declining, and by Q3 of this year, higher education visas were down by 41% compared to 2023. And focusing on the US, visa issuance also decreased in 2024. And this is primarily due to visa processing challenges, which have impacted the overall numbers. Now on this slide, there's benchmark a comparison of visa grants to help you evaluate visa approval rates. The slide illustrates visa approval rates for Indian students across 4 key destinations. This encompasses all sectors where Indian students pursued education on student visas. As you can see, the UK has much higher visa grant rates than the rest of the destinations. Canada increased visa grant rates by 23% in Q1 and held steady levels in the following quarters. In Australia, the visa grant rate in Q1 and Q2 stood at similar levels. However, Q3 rose from 62% to 77% in 2024. For the vet sector, the visa approval rate rose from 28% in Q3 23 to 78% in 24. However, for higher education, the visa approval rate in Q3 2023 was 92%, while it dropped to 62% in 2024. Now, it is important to mention, however, that there persists an organic demand from India, and these students are eager to study abroad. Nevertheless, with such a high interest, the destinations regulate the number of incoming Indian students to maintain a healthy levels of diversity. And now, as we wrap up the presentation, I'd like to highlight a couple of emerging trends that we've identified from our conversations with industry experts. Historically, Indian students have been interested in postgraduate studies. However, undergraduate studies becoming more popular. Similarly, vet programs are increasingly attractive due to higher employability and focus on skill building. Specialized new courses are gaining popularity among Indian students who want to pursue a career in AI. Education agencies have noticed a high interest from regions like Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Furthermore, since Indian students value employability and high quality education, they seek opportunities in STEM programs, as well as health and nursing higher education degrees. And finally, we see an increase in the demand for alternative study destinations such as Ireland and Germany. It has recently gained popularity due to affordability, high quality of education, and STEM courses availability. And we anticipate that study destinations will continue to shift depending on how students respond to new government policies in major destinations. And with that, I'll wrap up my presentation and pass the floor to Ivana to introduce our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, for the start and for guiding us through a little bit about the statistics. I think if we take two things out of the presentation, is just the sheer size of the market and the possibilities that it brings, and at the same time, the challenges that it has faced in 2024, and some of them are persisting to 2025. To discuss that further, now I would like to welcome our panelists and ask them to join me here today. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm unable to.
Raish, if you can turn on your camera as well. Oh, there you go. So I'm going to give the floor first. We are joined today by Raish Arya, the president of the Council of American Education, and he is going to tell us a little bit about the agency he has been spearheading for many, many years, and a little bit about himself. Raish, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Ivana, for the introduction and a wonderful presentation by Christina about India that shows her knowledge, deep knowledge about India. Just to give you a brief introduction, I am the founder president of the Council for American Education, established in 1991, based out of New Delhi, India. So we were probably one of the first three agencies across India that started the operation way back in 1991. I started this organization after finishing my MBA from the University of Texas, came back to India, started this organization as a premium counseling organization, leading to test prep, student recruitment, testing for GRE, GMAT, ACT, etc. And now we are a testing center for GRE as well as TOEFL as well as ACT. We are AIRC certified, we are NAPSA member, ICEF certified. So we've been around for a pretty long time. Over the last 34 years, we have sent more than 40,000 students to the US. So very US-centric, that's what we'll say. Thank you.
Thank you, Raish. And we are also joined today by Madhav Gupta, who is one of the directors at EEC. The floor is yours, Madhav.
Thank you, Ivana. Thank you for the wonderful invitation for the wonderful event. It's been a pleasure to go through the presentation that Christina shared with us, and the insights are fantastic. My name is Madhav, and I'm from India, from EEC. So we are an agency located in Gujarat, and we have 26 offices. We've been operating since 97. It's 28 years into this field now. I joined this agency 10 years ago, and I work here as a director. I am a qualified chartered accountant. However, I started in a very different way. I worked in Central America, West Africa, and China. And then I came back to India and I joined EEC in helping students study abroad. We are India's largest IELTS test prep, helping students with their dreams to improve their English. And once they do that, we help them to choose a foreign country destination which aligns with their aspirations. So we help students with the entire journey, and we are a pure B2C play. So we don't work with agents, we don't work with sub-agents. We work only with our students at our test prep school, and we do a lot of events which are online, in person, and basically help students take decisions. We involve parents, students, and whoever the person who decides for the future. That's what we do. And thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Before we dive deep into questions through the panel discussion, I would just like to encourage all of our attendees, if they have any questions, to post them in the Q&A section. There will be a space at the end. We will have 10 to 15 minutes to answer your questions. And then if we don't have time to answer all of them, we will, of course, follow up after the webinar. Okay, so Christina shared some statistics, and most of them are still for 2023 because we do not see 2024 being as a close statistical year, but we know that there have been bumps in the road. We saw some declines a little bit in the US. You have international student caps in Canada. You have almost international student caps in Australia, or at least you have those soft caps as they're being called. Let's start maybe on that note of 2024, and let's start with you, Raishi. So what do you think were the two most significant challenges that your agency faced and the Indian students faced in 2024? And maybe include a little bit of a forward-looking, do you see these challenges persisting in 2025 or maybe disappearing throughout the 2025?
Thanks, Christina. Ivana, I think the challenge that we faced most was the visa rejection in the US. 2024 fall, that is the August-September semester, would have been one of the best for us had there been no visa rejections. But we have taken pride in our agency's very successful track record in getting the student visas, but fall 24 actually changed that perception. Today we had a phenomenal rejections, and that's the reason the numbers were down. According to one data report released in 2023, U.S. Embassy issued 120,000 new visas. In fall 24, it was down to 80,000. This trend actually continued even in spring 2025, which is still, students are still applying for visa, but the visa rejection rate is still as high, if not more, than fall 2024. So this was one of the major challenges that we faced. The second was the demand in the US. The US economy is not able to offer OPTs, the optional practical trainings to students. They are not able to offer H-1B. So a lot of students are looking at other destinations. I'm talking about the US because my agency's focus is entirely on the US. So, but looking into the future, I am very positive about it that things will change. There's a new government in place. Some decisions were taken just yesterday. Hopefully more positive decisions will come in favor of students. Let's see, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But the economic conditions of the US will have a major impact on how students decide in terms of studying in the US. So looking forward to a better year, fall 25. I feel the number of applications that we have handled so far, the numbers are really good. So I'm very happy that students' applications are pretty good. Let's see what happens with the visa for fall 25.
Thank you, Raishi. Madhav, your take on the challenges 2024 and going into 2025?
Well, the year 2024 has been full of surprises. Speaking about Canada, we've seen too many changes coming too frequently. So whenever the students, they had the chance to understand and accept the change, they got a new one. So for me, for my agency, Canada and US are the two most important markets, Canada being a major shareholder. So for us, Canada has taken a big hit. And I am very hopeful that in the year to come, with the new elections or with the new phase that may come in Canada, students will associate that phase with a change. But without doubt, 24 has been a very challenging year for Canada in terms of the decline in numbers. Students who wanted to study only in Canada don't want to talk about that market. So that's been a huge challenge. In terms of US, the number of applications or the interest is the highest. US still, I would say, counts for maximum flow of students. Maximum applications go for US. However, as Mr. Arya pointed out, even we've been hit by the visa rejections. Fall 24, we had challenges in getting dates. Once you would get the dates, you wouldn't get the visas. Fall 25 has been, spring 25 has been totally shocking for all of us. We did not expect such a high rejection ratio. These numbers, the number of visas that we see coming for the intake that went by is higher because the number of applications were at a record high. Had the number of applications not been there, you could have expected the numbers to be much lower. Going forward, for 25, I feel nothing can be worse than what we've seen in this intake for US. So whatever happens should be better than this, provided we get the right news. Yesterday, I remember watching President Trump's speech while he was signing the orders yesterday, and he had a bite to give in between, which mentioned something positive about legal immigration. So I think if we get these positive news, we should be able to move into a better direction with maintaining the flow of numbers for inquiries and also for visas.
Thank you, Madhav. That's very insightful and fairly optimistic going out of 2024, although the spring 2025 is still not looking so bright. Just for the educators, I know we are talking about visa refusals being high, and we have all the government's interventions and kind of stepping in the student mobility flows through with the aim to regulate them. And I want to connect that a little bit with what you mentioned, Madhav, at the very beginning, that you are solely B2C agency, and the business that you do is you work directly with students. Could you maybe talk about a little bit more broadly about the agency market in India? Why is it maybe important to really look into the partners that you are looking to find, and who they are, how they work, and how is it maybe connected with the perception of Canada, with the perception of India, and with the reasons maybe slightly behind the visa refusals? Because I know maybe not everybody is aware about that sub-agent networks and everything that's going on, and that affects then the quality of agents that you are able to recruit.
True. I would love to contribute to that. So India is a very fragmented market when it comes to study abroad. There are a lot of study abroad agents, and it's unorganized. So you don't see brands everywhere. You don't see one organization having an office everywhere. You'll find a lot of regional players. You'll find a lot of one office agencies. So when it comes to working with agents, when you're working, try to work with those agents who are working with the students directly. Sub-agents, no one knows the student really. They've gone through maybe 2 levels of sub-agencies, at times even 3 or 4 levels of sub-agencies. So it becomes challenging for an institution to trust on the documents that they give, or the information they provide. Maybe you'll get a lot of applications, but if you deep dive, you'll see that they don't convert into deposits or fee payments. Plus, India is a very diverse market. You need to understand which part of India you want to recruit from, which part of India provides which kind of students. So pretty much most of the Indian states are not the right fit for study abroad. There are a handful of states where you don't need to explain what is study abroad, where you don't need to explain the what and the whys of study abroad. But there are some states where you need to convince that why you need to study abroad. So that's a market where you need to avoid. That won't work for you. And I hope this answers your question. And yeah.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Madhav, very much. I just wanted to point out a little bit about because of these practices that has led India to get to this, let's put it as a vicious cycle, then education agencies with such a strong position as is yours, Madhav, or Raishi, that they fall into the same kind of brackets, and then the visa refusal can be very high. So to get out of that vicious cycle, it's by moving from quantity to quality, and to making sure that you really have the right partners in the network in India. Raish, you have years of experience. Can you tell us how maybe the market has changed over the last couple of years? Have you seen any significant changes towards the demand to the US that you kind of see coming, or has the profile of a student remained fairly consistent with the applicants that go through your education agency?
Thank you very much, Ivana. I think the market landscape is changing quite a bit. Since we started in 1991, a lot of changes have happened, but I will delve into the changes that happened in the last 3 years post-COVID. The demand has gone up. There was a lot of pent-up demand that we were able to fulfill. Earlier, only the kind of more upper middle class people were going. However, in the last 5 years, what I see, a lot of financial institutions have come in, and they're offering a lot of loans, so student loans to students. So students coming from not so wealthy background are also looking at options to study abroad. The market size is increasing dramatically. And one of the study that I saw, I think we'll have close to 1.5 million to 2 million students going abroad from India in the next 5 to 7 years. So market is increasing dramatically. The population of India is increasing, and vis-a-vis the number of institutions are not increasing. So I see the market increasing. However, if US or the other countries continue to reject visas, new markets like Ireland, Malta, Sweden, France is doing very aggressive, New Zealand, right? All those markets are coming up very well. And one of the major contributors to those markets is visa rejections by some of the more traditional countries like US and Australia and Canada. Obviously, nowadays is very high visa rejection rate. So I feel the market is now is changing, poised to grow as well, depending upon the global geopolitical environment that will be there.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we established that the market is very fragmented in India. So what would be your 3 recommendations that you would give to education providers that really want to recruit those high quality students effectively? What would you advise them to do? Rayesh, you can start.
Okay, now my agency actually works with a lot of students who go to premium institutions like MIT, Stanford, Harvard, UCLA, UC Berkeley, Cornell, Carnegie, Columbia, etc. So Ivy Leagues and super Ivies and M7 MBA programs. So we have a whole department which is headed by me personally. Students wanting to go to the top institutions in the US. My son just passed out from UCLA, got into MIT's Sloan School of Business this year. So we are very focused on quality education. At the same time, we have contractual relationships with more than 100 US universities and help them recruit students in India. I personally feel none of the institutions who are going to recruit in India should feel India is a low-hanging fruit, that they can come there and they'll get students all over. This is one of the common myths I see across universities that are entering the Indian market for the first time. Second, you should have the product that will actually sell in India. I think if you have STEM programs that have the maximum demand in India, so it's institutions that are more liberal arts centric, obviously they have more trouble recruiting students because these students are scattered all over India. It's very difficult to market to those students. If you have engineering, business, computer science, you have a great product. Whether at the bachelor's level or at the master's level, you will have a demand here. Obviously, the third thing is the resources. How much are you willing to commit? None of the institutions that we work with have unlimited resources. So we have to channelize those resources in a manner that will yield the best ROI. And that's where our expertise comes in, which we are able to let the universities know which market, which regions of India. Is a big country, as Madhav mentioned a while ago. So we help them channelize their resources into the right areas. So these are the three things I feel universities need to keep in mind. Not think India is a low-hanging fruit, because you have competition not only from the same country but from worldwide now.
Thank you, Resh. That's very interesting, and I do agree that there is such a quality students that you can recruit from India, but you have to be ready to be there for your partner and to find a ways how to recruit. Madhav, what would be your take on what would be your recommendations to education providers?
So I feel they're doing a very good job already, and when it comes to India, I think be more approachable, do more online events, do more. If you are visiting, that's great. If you are not, then start visiting. Indians love to welcome. We love to play host. So give us the chance. And students and parents love to talk. And they love to talk to the institution if they get a chance to do that. Some specifics which I feel we can work on. The third-party evaluation services, which are often costly and time-taking, if they can be removed, if you can do in-house evaluations, that is something which will work in your favor. If you want to recruit good students, time is of essence. I see this with graduate students for US. They need to wait a lot, especially in good institutions. So with them, I've seen this being done by a few universities. They've made green, yellow, and red pathways. So if a student has a good profile and they get a decision faster, so that's a green channel. And if it's an outright no, they say outright no. And if it's a thing that they need to send to the faculty for review, that takes its own time. So they call that as a yellow channel or something, or amber channel that I've heard. You can come out with merit scholarships. So you reward those students who want to select a good organization, to select a good institution. So that can work well. I already mentioned that for the undergrad programs, we get admits pretty fast. But for the graduate programs, because they go for a faculty review, if you can work out a way for the students who have a good profile, that is something which I feel will be a game changer. Understand the Indian education system. If you're looking for undergraduate students, you need to understand what is the CBSE and ICSE and the IB boards and the state boards, and how a 70% in an ICSE is not as same as a 70% in a state board. So understanding that can be a huge change maker for you, so you can attract the right talent. Also understanding the Indian diplomas versus the class 12 education, slightly different. There's a huge untapped market. Now, this is my opinion. A lot of Indian youth spend years and years chasing the competitive examinations in India to get a government job. So if you can find something, if you can work out something for these students, I mean, I spent 5 years of my life trying to pursue a course of CA, and luckily I was able to crack it, but 95% people are not able to do that. Similarly, you have the similar thing with Indian students opting for civil services tests, and they spend 10 years after that, 5 years after that. What if you have a course, something designed for them? That is something which I feel will attract a lot of good quality students to you. That's what I had in mind. And students ask these days, with artificial intelligence coming in, what should we do? And that's one question which scares me, because I think, what will I do if artificial intelligence is really true? So you need to have a course which is AI proof, or it teaches you to be the AI partner. So that is something which is a real opportunity for all of us. So if you come out, you will expect this question a lot, because AI is an opportunity, but it's also scaring people. People are asking, oh, should we be writing codes? Won't that job be taken over by AI? So how are you AI proof? How is your university AI proof? How is your course AI proof? Or how do you prepare student for the tomorrow, which is going to be with AI? Because pretty much all of us here in the room are going to be impacted by that. So that's something which, I see a lot of questions coming in for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will become eventually, I mean, it has already become a part of our lives. So I think it's how we adapt in to kind of live along and link with the artificial intelligence being part of our lives on every level, even on an educational level. Thinking about how you mentioned a lot of practical points, you mentioned some untapped demand, maybe some ideas on where to focus with the programs and with the offering. So I hope this is useful for the educators to understand the market a little bit better. So we still have a little bit of time for the questions. I will pose one last question, and then we will move on to the Q&A section, because there is a couple of good ones. Just because we spend a lot of time looking at 2024 and what now. I do wonder if you would have a crystal ball and you would be able to be a fortune teller. Where do you see that market evolving in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you see maturing it enough that it would kind of reach maybe the level and then it will kind of stay on that level? Do you see it growing? Do you see it maybe dropping for a little bit? And let's focus on the major destinations, the big four: UK, Canada, US, and Australia, because we know that can shift to other destinations. The demand can shift to other destinations, but kind of the future for the big four in the next 3-5 years in terms of the demand. Rajesh, if you want to start with that.
Sure. As far as US is concerned, I still feel it will be one of, I think, the top two countries for students, regardless, right? US has many institutions available. I presented at NAFSA last year, and one of the key findings that I presented was US has only utilized 6% of its student capacity. So US has a lot of capacity available to absorb the growing market. Second, the Indian market is still increasing. The study abroad is a craze that students love to go outside for various reasons: economics and social reason and migration. There's so many reasons why Indian students are so keen to study abroad. So the market will increase. There might be shift in the destinations. For example, Canada has gone down dramatically this year, and I don't see the Canadian market going up in the next couple of years at least. Visa rejections and the Canadian economy, and the Indian and Canadian political scenario, all that has hurt the Canadian market dramatically. So I feel Canada probably will struggle for the next couple of years at least, and maybe they'll have the new government later this year. So things might change a bit. I don't know how it's going to evolve. But new markets will continue to emerge, right? There are many countries coming forward, and I see France to be a great market and Ireland to be a wonderful market, and students are very keen to go there. So I think in the next 3 to 5 years, universities should invest in India, regardless of which country the participants are. There are students here. You come here with the right program at the right cost. I think you will be able to recruit good students. Hopefully, the consulates of various countries will be more cooperative and will grant the visa. I've already seen this year, I had students getting rejected for top universities like Boston University, for John Hopkins, some of the top schools. Their students were rejected a visa as well for no reason whatsoever. So hopefully, if that changes, I think all of us are here for a good season for the next few years. Yeah.
Thank you, Raishi. And you, Madhav?
I totally agree that, in the years to come, India is going to be a fantastic market. The incomes are rising. People want to go abroad more than before. And as and when we make more money, we'll go abroad earlier. So India has always been a graduate market, and we will see graduate market to dominate, but we'll also see more students going abroad at an undergrad level than before. Every year, I expect that to grow. So I'm very bullish. I'm all invested, and I'm all invested in the Indian story. I mean, we have 26 offices and we own all of them. So, and we are still expanding. So we are all in, and I feel the country which provides clarity with respect to stay back will be the country which will grow. For many years, Canada has been the country which has provided utmost clarity with respect to admissions, to work permits, and stay back. And that's the reason why that country has done very well. And I have a different opinion, and I feel that Canada will bounce back stronger than 2024. It may take time, it may take a year, but it will. Because the clarity which the Canadian education system provides with certainty, because an Indian student calculates the return on investment, and that return on investment can only be calculated when they get to stay back. So for them, a sure shot, safe calculation happens with countries which provide clarity to stay back. And Canada is one of them. And I'm very hopeful that after a year or after two semesters, I hope things will be very good. US is going to dominate and will continue to dominate the flow of students. Right now, most of the students that walk into our offices want to study in the US, and that will continue. If we see more than 2 intakes, just like the one which went by with high rejections, things may change. But again, the appetite which US has, no one has. So we talk about caps. US knows the Indian students. They know that they are how they are, what they are. So for both of us, for US and us, it's a win-win situation. That if they want students, they have them available over here. UK, I think the numbers are going to be steady for the next 1.5 years. But then again, it's unpredictable sometimes. They come with sudden changes. And but UK has been strong right now. So I don't see a change in that. Australia, you'll be amazed to know, Ivana, that many students' first choice is Australia. But hardly 10% of them with me are able to meet the requirements of GS, the genuine student requirements. So 90% of them, after they try for a few months, they change their choice of destination. So with respect to your question of 4 countries, I feel these 4 countries are going to be strong. I don't see any reason to worry. I see a lot of potential in Canada going forward with the new with the elections coming in, and I hope and pray for higher visa success ratios in US. As Mr. Arya rightly pointed out, the volume that we did in spring 25, and had we even had the same visa ratio as fall 24, it would have been a bumper intake for all of us. I do see these countries facing some new challenges in terms of competition. Germany being the strongest, and it's not going to go away. Germany is here, and they're going to stay. Followed by France, and followed by a few more European countries, followed by UAE. So we're going to see a lot of different countries that will play an important role in the student's mind. Germany is here, and they're going to be here forever. They've changed. I think we all had to change our counseling desks after the rise in interest from students for Germany. And but I strongly feel that the English-speaking countries are a natural fit for us. We don't need to learn a language. Parents don't need to worry about a third language. If a student goes, he's assured that tomorrow, if his spouse moves in, tomorrow, if he has children, they don't need to learn a third language. If their parents come and visit them, they don't need to learn German, French, or anything else. So it's a natural fit to work, to study in an English-speaking country. I'm extremely positive and bullish about 2025. It might not meet our expectations. We'll have to lower the expectations, because this year you see most of the study abroad agents in India doing layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
As you've rightly seen the numbers which were in the presentation, every destination has gone down. So you've seen huge layoffs, many offices being closed by many agents. So despite that, I feel if things improve in Canada and the US, in terms of Canada, when I talk about clarity with respect to study abroad, and with US visa approvals, I see the market bouncing back this year itself.
Very nice, very comprehensive. I think one of the points that you made resonated with me. It's the volatility that we have seen in 2024, is that we may look in how the market's probably going to look like in 2025 or 2026. And then you might have one or two decisions that can shift that completely, and they can move that mobility to another destination. We have a couple more minutes, so I'm just going to go through the questions that our attendees asked. And one of them was, you mentioned at the beginning that there are some states in India where you have to explain what are the benefits of study abroad segment. Can you, Madhav, first you and then Rajesh, you just maybe give a couple of examples where you maybe have seen a higher visa refusal rates from which states, maybe the quality of students, sometimes it's a little bit lower and they tend to have a little bit higher visa refusals. Are there any examples you can provide us with?
So it changes country-wise. So, every country has, sorry, it changes state-wise. So every state has a different market. When it comes to Gujarat, it was about Canada before. Now it's about US, UK, Australia, and Germany. So every state has a different market. Punjab is Canada market. If you go to Maharashtra, it's a mix of a few countries. If you go to Kerala, it's specific to a field. It's specific to nursing. Now, if you go to Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, AP Telangana, that's basically US and Ireland. If you go to Delhi, it's for all the countries, US, I think more, and then you have the Hindi belt, which comprises of most of the states, which is difficult to recruit from. States like Jharkhand, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, the eastern part of Uttar Pradesh is difficult to recruit from. It's difficult to explain them about recruitment. So that's about the regions in India, I did see a few questions over here about which states are strongest and understand study abroad in Canada. So I did mention Punjab, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Kerala, and I would even add the state of Delhi or the state of Haryana. There's a very famous city, Sri Ganganagar in Rajasthan, which is highly misleading because it's just one city in Rajasthan, which is very famous for Canada. And that's because there's a huge community from North India which lives over there. That's doing very well for Canada. So this is something which I feel with region-specific agencies, if you work with them, would be better. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any specific that Madhav didn't mention for US market where you would kind of say that the strongest demand for US is?
For the strongest demand for the US is Telangana, Maharashtra, Delhi, and Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat. So these are the major markets for the US. Punjab is more towards Canada with the visa rejections happening in Canada. So the Punjab market is now looking at the US and other countries. Traditionally, it was very, very Canada focused as well. Now, some states in the Northeast, like the Mizoram, Meghalaya, those are the very nascent markets. So I do understand every university has limited resources. They would like to target those states where they can get better results. And obviously, then they want to avoid such states where they have to spend a lot of money to get a handful of students, right? So that's where if there are US institutions in this discussion that we are having, obviously they need to target some tier 2 cities and states like Madhya Pradesh, very, very good for upcoming for the US market. So their tier 2 cities are growing very, very well, but you need to pick up the right tier 2 cities that are growing very well.
All right. I hope this was useful for everybody. Thank you so much for providing all the insights and all the information. I think we touched at least the two most important parts, and that's the focus on quality, on how to find a quality students. We also touched upon the recommendations on how to maybe make the life, let's put it the way that life, both for education agencies and for the education providers, easier when recruiting students, and explain a little bit about the demand that it's coming and from where it's coming in India. Because we are out of time, I saw there's still a couple of questions of for K-12 sector and for you, Madhav, specifically. So we'll distribute those and we will get back to you and collect the responses from our panelists. With that being said, let's conclude. I really want to express my deepest gratitude to our guests for all the contribution and everything that you have shared with us, and that you have found the time to join us today and to really share the first-hand experience from the market and how to kind of adapt. Because I think everybody wants to have part of an India. They want to tap into that demand, into the numbers that we have seen, but it can prove to be a difficult way to do unless you really have a responsible partner that you can rely on when recruiting from the market. With that being said, thank you all also for all the attendees that join us today. There will be recording available after the webinar. It will be, as always, sent out, so you can go and go back to the recording and see it again and to revisit some of the ideas that has been shared today. If you need any more information, any type of data or ongoing insights, please feel free to reach out to us. You can either contact us through education@bonard.com, or you can follow us on our LinkedIn. That is simply Bonard Education. You can explore our website, that's bonardeducation.com, because we share regular updates there. And if there are any other questions that you might have, just please feel free to reach out to us anytime. So thank you. Have a lovely day and see you next time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank
And
you.
I hope
Thank
to
you
see
very
all
much.
of you very soon. Take care.
Thank you.